Hello everyone, welcome back to Jacqs and thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to be sharing something exciting with you today, and that is the We Are Memory Keepers button press. I've kind of wanted one for a while, and when I saw it on HSN for $99, I think it was $99.99, and you got all the pieces parts, I had to give it a go. So when you open the box that you receive, the first thing you get is this button press instruction booklet. And then you will also receive this little list of all the contents in the box. So let's start by finding out what those are. The largest item in the box is the actual machine that creates the buttons. And here it is. This is a swivel mechanism to help you load the buttons and everything easier when it's out here. It slides under there when we start creating them. So that's what it looks like. It's a pretty good weight. The next thing you'll receive is the handle to the machine. Now, I will say that they didn't have instructions on how to attach the handle, and while it may look like obvious, it's kind of like when you buy a hot cup of coffee and on there it says, this is a hot cup of coffee, right? So what we do here is just screw this on. And you go until you hear this. And I hope you can hear that, but it's a little noise to tell you you have it on just right enough. So then that's what it looks like afterward. I'm going to put this over here to the side here and go through some of the other items that it has. One of the first pieces that you'll see, and these are cutting inserts. You have a top one, which is smaller, and then a bottom one, which is larger. And we'll go ahead and put these on the machine because we're going to be making some buttons while we're here together. So this just sets right into the bottom. Now, what I will say is there is like a gap. It doesn't sit all the way down, even though it does show you in the instruction booklet that it sits flush. So don't be boggled by that. It doesn't do that. So it just goes on until it stops. And then the top one here, we're going to add to the top, and what you'll see is an arrow here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. And there's one on this side as well. And you're going to be using those arrows to line up a lot of the items that we're using. So we're going to use these little divots on the front and back and line that up with the arrow, and then the magnet just sucks it right up in there. So on the back you'll see an arrow here as well. Now the next thing we'll get into are the actual cutting plates or cutting dies, if you will. So let's start with the small one here. So this is the cutting die. It has lines so that you can line up your image in the center when you go to create your buttons, and how to have the backing turned and everything. We'll get into that more in a little bit. So this is very helpful to have that there as guidelines, and if you turn it over, you'll actually see a cut in the foam. And that is where the blade is, down in there. It's just like a Biggs die. You know, the blade is hidden underneath that heavy foam to protect it. So this is your cutting die, and these are your cutting plates. There is a base and a top, and if you'll notice, it has an A and a B on it, and that helps you line things up when we go to create a button. So that is the smallest button size. And I've put those button shells in a little baggie here, but I'll show you. So this is the casing where your image gets wrapped around, and then this is the back of your button. And you can take this little clasp thing off or leave it on. If you take it off, you can add foam to the back side of this, which they do provide, 2 sheets of it. Or you can put a magnet on the back here also. I don't have any of those today to share with you, but so those go in the back like that. Your image would be here, and that's what it looks like. So that is the small size. Next, we'll do the medium size, and here is the cutting die for that. I love this color, very pretty. Here's the lines again, and then the die, of course, is on the back side. Now, I did notice that my foam was a little up on this one side. I doubt that that makes a difference, but it's just something that I noticed. Could be from packing. And then here are the base and top plates to create those buttons. And here are those button shells. Here is the top and the back side. And then the last one here is the large, the cutting plate for that, and the top and base piece to do the cutting, well, to do the button making. And then here is the large button size. Here is the back and the top shell. That's a really big size. So it's really nice that you get all three in one package. Then you'll also receive 3 different sizes of Mylar that match each of the button sizes. So that's everything that's in the box that you receive when you get a bundle. Now, whether you buy it on HSN or somewhere else like a Cherry on Top, I know they have it as well. I think it's $119, which isn't that much more than what I got it for at HSN. And you do get everything that you've seen here. Now what we're going to do is create a small size button. I have my backing and front as well as my Mylar. And I even cut out a piece of paper, and I want to use these little cherries. And I've actually added some Spectrum Noir Sparkle to it just to give it a little something something. And the way I figured out what size paper I needed to cut out for my image, you need a piece that is larger than the circle that will be cut out from the die. So here you see the circle where the blade comes through. So you need it to be wider than that. Now it can be side to side or whatever, but sometimes I just like to make it as small as possible, but to still fit the size that I needed. So when I chose these cherries, I took this plate, the die here, I lined it up to how I wanted it to look using these little lines as guides. And I think that looks good. And then I turned it over and I saw that this will work because the cutting line is inside, and I have about 1/8 of an inch that's over where the cutting line is. Now I hope that makes sense to you. I just know that sometimes we don't like to cut out big pieces and waste a whole lot of the images that are around it. So now that we have our image selected and kind of mapped out, we're going to put this on top of this cutting plate. You're going to kind of center it and swing this back inside. I'm going to move these to the side here because I need to move this so you guys can see a little bit, I hope. Okay, so we'll put that in the center, and then we will take this handle and bring it down, and you will kind of hear a little click or crisp sound, and then that tells you that the die has cut the paper. Okay, so I hope you heard that little clicking, and if we look, our image got cut out, and that's perfect. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is swing this back out and remove these plates. We no longer need those for this project. Now we'll go ahead and add our button plate inserts, and we're going to add this into the top, and using the arrow I'm just going to line it up here where the letter B is. However, once it's in there, we're going to switch this over where the A arrow is lined up with the top arrow. That's to do the first stage of button making. Now we'll take the base plate here and we'll just add that onto that. It just kind of is magnet. And you'll do it to where the base pops down. okay? And then where we have the arrow here, we will line up the letter A. We will take our little button shell. You place the rounded side up, the concave goes down. Then you will place your paper on top. And remember to use the arrows to line it up if you need to. There's arrows on both sides here. And then you take your Mylar and put on top of that. Now remember, you get 10 shells, 10 backing, and 10 Mylar so that you can create 10 buttons. Okay, now that that is all ready, we swing this in. And it clicks right into place. And I'm going to turn this around again. I'm always in the wrong direction. And then I'm going to press down. Okay, make sure your plates are all lined up before you do anything. And then press. Okay, we will swing this out. And you'll see that the items that we put into the circle here are now gone. They are at the top of our button press. At this stage, you want to decide if you want to have a backing that has a little latch on it, or if you want it to be blank so that you can add a magnet or foam on here, and then decide which one you want to use. So I'm going to use the one without anything on it, and you're going to put it in to where the sharp edge, if you will, is facing up. The concave will be going down. Okay, I hope that makes sense. You put this in here and you line it. Now, if you did have the little latch thing or little clasp, you would want to line it up with these lines right here. I said arrow earlier. They're just lines. So you would line up your circles straight across, and then your button would come out right. Now, I don't have a clasp on there, so it really doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and do it, you know, in the right way just to show you guys. So I'm going to flip this over back into the alignment, and we're going to make sure that our B plates are all in alignment here. So this arrow to B arrow, B to the top arrow. And then when everything is aligned, we will press. Now that we've created our first button, I think what we should do is to try different sizes. So let's move on to the medium one. I'm going to remove the pink plates and the die, set those aside. Going to, and at this point we would bring back in the cutting plates, which are the white ones. Hello, kitty. Okay. And then I have my paper already cut out, and I've used the die to size it. I did add some more Spectrum Noir sparkle to it, especially with the swan. It would look great to have some movement there. So I'm just trying to line this up now where I want it. Kind of want some of the ripples. But then there's this cute little flower right there. So I can't do the flower because when I flip it over, this paper is right in alignment where the die cuts. So I have to bring it down. So I'll use some of the water. So I think that should look good. Again, we're going to put it in about the middle. Slide this over. And then bring this lever down. Okay, so let's bring this out. And here is our piece. Now we need to change these out. We'll put these in with the B lining up with the arrow. And it will hang down because remember we want it to go on to the A. We'll swing this out and add the base. And we will line the A up here with this arrow. Now I'm going to stop moving this so you can see when I'm creating the button because it does move the plates, okay? So we're on to medium size. We will put in our top there, add our piece, and again, line it up to where you want it. We will add the mylar. And it's always a good idea to double check, make sure all the arrows and the A's are in alignment, and then press. Okay, let's pull this out. And now we add our backing, and again, I think I'll use it with the pin this time, so we use it with the where you just see the metal on the back. Again, that's where the sharper edges are, and the unlocking mechanism will fall down into the little hole there. Now when you put this in, again, be sure that these lines line up with your circles so that you have it going straight across, not up and down. And we'll see how this works. Okay, make sure to move your plates to B. Everything's lined up, and press. And here is our button. Now to get it out easy, you can lift up the plate, and if you'll notice underneath, this is a retractable item, and if you push the center, it will pop the button up. And here is our button. And there's the backing. So that is going straight across, and if you, you guys see that? So even though I used those lines, the pin itself is not going in the right direction. So it must have got moved somehow. Interesting. And you definitely would not be able to remove this very easily. Okay, so that's just a little something to be careful. It's actually going in this direction. That's interesting. Okay, let's try the large and see what we get. To save time, I went ahead and cut out the final piece that we're going to do today. And I have pulled out our large front. We'll put in our piece. So you'll only have these two little slits here that will tell you the direction. So we will add our mylar to that. I'm just checking here that all of the A's are in alignment, and they are, and we'll press. When we swing this out, everything is up top. Okay, now what I'm going to do is move everything to the B setting. So B, an arrow, B, an arrow. And we will take our backing with the latch opening on this side down. Now you'll see the lines going across here. So I'm going to follow the lines and put it across this way. Now the thing I did last time is I didn't move the B plates before I added everything, so we'll see if this makes a difference. Here is our button. How cool is that tiger? And it is up and down yet again. All right, guys, I got to figure that out. I'll come back and let you know. Since I'm having trouble with this getting in the right direction, I thought we would try it one more time. And I got some fabric. I thought we would give that a go. And I'm using this that I got from Walmart. So I cut it, and it does leave just a few strings attached. So you would need to do a little trimming, but not much. Otherwise, it really cuts it out very well for fabric. So here is the image I want to use. We're going to do another large one, and I'll put the button face there on top. We'll add our image there, and it's best to use the Mylar. It will help seal in the fabric. Make sure there's no goobers on there. Okay, so I already have turned this to A and A. I always double check it now on the side. So it's up in the top. We're going to get our backing, and let's see, I think I'll use it with the clip. Before you put the backing in, you're going to want to turn the plates to B and B. Remember, arrow, B, B, arrow. Then you take your backing, whether or not you're using a closure, and then you're going to line it up into the plate. Now here are the two lines going across this way in that orientation. Swivel it and give it a punch after I double check everything. And so the Mylar look, it's still in the wrong direction. So the Mylar did not get closed down on this one side, but quite frankly, we don't need it because the fabric got caught under there. So there is our button without Mylar. That's so cute. Oh my goodness. If this was going in the right direction, I'd be happier. Look, you guys. Ooh. Okay, so with fabric, you can turn the backing. Awesome. So now we're going in the right direction. Here was our other one. Yeah, you can't turn them when the Mylar is back there. But this allowed you to move it because of the fabric. Yep, it's all tucked down in there. Cool. So I still need to figure out what my problem is with getting it aligned properly. I don't know. So I thought I'd try this one more time to see if I can get the pin back in the right direction on a regular button, not with fabric. And I have turned my button press this direction. The A is in place on both sides of the plates here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my top piece. The arrows or lines are going across this direction. Here is the image that I already cut out. It's a hot air balloon from the Sweet Story collection. If I haven't told you, that's what I used for these two buttons as well as the cherry button. And I'm going to put this in and line it up with these two lines. So the image will be going in this direction. So I can read the word. I'm going to add the Mylar. And when you add that, just continue to make sure that your image is going in the right direction. We're going to swivel this. Press. Make sure everything's aligned and press. Bring that back out. And the first thing we'll do is move the top plate to B and the bottom plate to B. So now the B is lined up with the arrows on both sides. Now, when we do that, our lines actually change and they're going in this direction. You'll see lines on this top piece, and if you look inside at the other teal piece or turquoise, it also has lines on it, and they all are going in this direction. So we'll take our backing and, oh, I used a hot air balloon. I think I'll leave the I don't know. Well, I'll leave this thing on, the little closure on, and we're going to put it in the machine, and I'm lining up my buttons, and they're going, I'm nervous, in this direction. Okay, here goes nothing. Swinging it around. Doing a double check, all the B's are aligned and pressed. Here is our button, and here is our closure. It's going in the right direction. Woohoo! Yes, our button closure is going in the right direction. So it's really just a matter of making sure that these lines are all in alignment when you go to put the back on. So, see them here? You just want to make sure those 4 lines are all going in the same direction. Also make sure that you change to the B before you add anything. Super cute. So this goes to show you, you could do just slight layering on your buttons because I added a sticker there. And I must say I really love having the sparkle on here. That really comes through as well. I don't know if you can see it, but it does come through. So that is the unboxing for me and the We Are Memory Keepers button press. I must say it does take a little getting used to and a little trial and error, as probably with everything. The important things to remember, make sure you have your plates turned to the right direction before you start layering your pieces and doing any pressing down. As soon as you're done with A, switch it to B, and then start layering your back piece in here. That's important. Another thing that's really important is to make sure your lines are all going in the right direction so that your back will come out in the right direction. You can do fabric, and I think they mentioned that in their video. This worked without Mylar, but I have seen some done with fabric and Mylar, so you could certainly try it again. but it wasn't really necessary. You would have to use a very thin fabric or material because anything thick probably wouldn't go through the machine very well. Another downside is that you get a limited amount of these, and to repurchase, you're still getting basically a limited amount. But you are getting the fronts and backs together. I know a cherry on top has refills, and I think you get like 80 or something for small. But again, when you consider using 2 per item, then you're only getting 40 buttons. Where I know other button machines allow you to buy like 100 of each front and back at a time. It would be interesting to try this out in another brand to see if it works in the machine. But then again, I also don't want to ruin my machine. I might wait for someone else to try it out. So let's see, anything else? Oh, the cutting pads. Now, on the cutting pads, you know, this is just like using a regular die. It does make an impression on the bottom plate here, if you can see that. So you will see cut lines. Sometimes I have found that it doesn't cut all the way through. You know, it doesn't cut all the way through. Sometimes you'll have to cut a little thread off if you're using fabric. If you're using paper, you might have to just keep putting it back in there and pressing it down until it does. So it's, again, I think that's just different pressure by different people using the machine. So that's the other thing I wanted to mention. I think that is everything. Otherwise, I really think it's fun to create buttons, and I'm liking the machine, even though there is just a few downsides with it. I'm going to keep playing around with it. Everyone, thank you for joining me today. See you next time.